there was a very interesting piece the other day in the New Republic. And it was a depressing piece. But it wasn't ultimately depressing, because in the very last paragraph, it really talked about staying out. And what it really implied had to do with the power, maybe the power of labor may well be the place we really need to be looking. And I'll do that at several levels. So for example, look, what has really been the story that's really kind of drawn our attention on the left? The Amazon workers, the workers who are doing jobs that are underpaid and they're just, in a fashion, they're as frontline as everyone else because they're the supply chain, you say. And the fact is that if they stay out, that supply chain is in deep shit.
Right.
So the thing is that we really ought to be doing what we can to constantly be talking, and we shouldn't be wasting our time on too many things that don't involve working people and labor. And the other thing is, and this began over a year ago, Sarah Nelson.
I was just going to mention her. Just talked to her today.
Excellent. And we have we don't talk on the phone terribly often, though she called last week because she wanted to get out the word, about what Mnuchin was going to try to do, right? Yes. And so the thing is that there we have there's an example before this crisis. And now we're in a crisis in which the powers of labor become all the more significant. So what I would say is that we want to attend all the more to the question of labor and working people and solidarity with working people, and try to imagine how to cultivate those kinds of solidarities and support systems.
I'm glad that you bring up Sarah Nelson, because she's the first person who came to mind when you mentioned labor and the supply chain, because she has been able to articulate in an extremely effective way that reaches across party lines that this bill right now, and I want to get the number right because I took notes earlier today, is what is it? It's $450 billion, right? That she is pushing to be, she and this coalition, Sarah Nelson, who is the president of Flight Attendants Workers, part of CWA, is to go directly to payroll for the airlines. And what role the airlines play is not just as a business, but some of these smaller and mid-sized regional airlines are at risk of closing by next week. And what does that mean for supply chain? Well, right now we're dependent on mail being flown around the country. We're dependent on pharmaceuticals, on medical supplies and equipment. And if an already hurting airlines industry, with the strongest one being Delta, which is the weakest when it comes to labor, is in crisis, we have an ability to communicate that to red states, to all lawmakers. And there's real pressure points here. And what I think is so admirable about Sarah Nelson is that she sees where those pressure points are, and she knows how to apply them and use organizing to apply them in effective ways at the right moment. And I think there are so many lessons to be learned from her, being one of those leaders who gets it. And as a movement, I wish Bernie got it the way she did, because I think we'd be in a very different place right now. Win or lose, I think we'd be in a different place.
Yeah, so do I. And if people aren't aware of the fact, of course, the presidency of the AFL-CIO is on the agenda, just over the horizon. Yes. She's not the only candidate, but anything you can do to talk her up, all of you folks out there, and give her support, I urge you to do so.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up in a second, but I think the last question I would ask you is, electoral politics is a big factor here. And we have been able to take some seats as progressives legislatively and Congress, of course, and shift the agenda. Whether or not that agenda we have big wins or don't, it's now something that is being discussed, whether it's Medicare for All, the Green New Deal. There's quite a bit here, $15 minimum wage. Labor just in general, protecting labor, like that's a thing back in the Democratic Party. Moving forward with electoral politics, there's, this is a mistake that was made last time around, but it's real. And it's something that I think divides our movement, is people get frustrated, throw their hands up in the air, and they say, okay, third party, or I'm bowing out. Go. You have the floor, sir.
Look, both the structures and the finances and the imagination will not support third-party endeavors. Okay, I confess in 1980 I voted third party for the Citizens Party with Barry Commoner. Okay, and I will never make that mistake again. I would say, look, in some ways, staying home is smarter, perhaps, in boycotting than it would be to vote for third party. But I'm not telling people to boycott. This is my ambivalence right now. I do not want to vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Let me make that absolutely clear. But it is the case that Donald Trump represents a fascist politics. And what we need, and the tragedy is that we don't have the leader right now to carry out the deal. And as far as I'm concerned, if young people, older people could get it together on the left, but instead of saying on chat rooms, on Twitter, I will not vote for Biden, it's give me a reason to vote for Biden.
Right.
There ought to be this as loud a voice as possible on the left. Give us a reason to vote for you. We know what's wrong with you. Give us a reason to vote for you. Look, I mean, people say to me, is there anyone in age between Bernie Sanders and AOC? Not that they should be the next candidate for president. There you go. Hey, no, but it is. Look,
No.
the sooner we can get all of you to be 40 years old and have some maturity, the better, it'd be great. No, but it is the case. I mean, there were other Democratic politicians who I have admired out there, yeah. But they so quickly lined up with the likes of Biden that it was outrageous. I mean, if you would ask me before Bernie Sanders had entered the race, who I really wanted to see in the race, it was Sherrod Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. But he got lost in all of this. And in fact, I thought he might have been the one person to sort of bring labor back in, into this Democratic mix. And maybe something's going on there. But right now, I mean, I too have been so fed up with the Democrats. I think they've been shameful. I think they're shameful in terms of their hostility to the very needs of working people, quite frankly. So, but what is the answer? I mean, the fact is we do have people in Congress. There are people who should step forward. I think Ro Khanna is a voice that we should make more of. I think there are people out there who had thought about entering politics these last several years. I'll mention a friend of mine. I think he has a future in Democratic politics, Joe Sandberg out in Southern California.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I mean, there are these folks and they're ready to move. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're already trying to figure out what is the next step. That we need to have our eyes and ears open. I don't think we should become sectarian. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
And the danger is that the left, the socialist left, will sort of pull away and become sectarian. And that has always been the problem in the past. Think 1930s. We don't have an FDR, but we have to think about some kind of united front. And we are positioned. When I say we, it's kind of, I feel a little guilty saying that, given, as I said before, 30-year gap between the 40-year-olds and me. But it is the case that we are well positioned. And if you listen to even the likes of, he and I have yet to meet, but I think of him as a friend, Adolf Reed and others, you'll see the question is labor. The question is creating solidarities. The question is creating a united voice around the agenda that Bernie has himself advanced.
I agree. And I think, just to put a cherry on top of that, organizations that are democratically structured are the key allies in this fight. That's where you're going to get true solidarity, not this wishy-washy, sometimes I support you, sometimes I don't. So, we need to definitely support those organizations that are democratically structured, because, they're the ones who also are able to apply pressure and work with us on our behalves, because it's we don't want to have a situation like Warren. I mean, it was eye-opening to see too many organizations that we've done work for and lined up for decide to betray us, and not just betray us, but attack us.
Yeah. No, that I'm not asking people to be I'm not asking people to be pawns and deferential. Please, no. Okay, but you have voices that should be part of the conversation. Okay. And the other thing is, I've harped on this for years. I think it would really help if people paid a little more attention to the fact that there is a rich tradition of American progressivism and radicalism. And we really do need to understand that the solidarity should not only be generational in the contemporary sense, but we have to have solidarity with the generations before us and the generations yet to come.
Right.
Okay, just keep that in mind.
That's great. Harvey, thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
like going to therapy.
Great to see you.
Movement therapy with Harvey Kaye.
Next time we're on the couch.
Oh, I have to do that thing. Guys, make sure to click the likes, subscribe, the little bell to make sure you know when our new episodes are coming out. And if you're not a patron, now is the time. Independent media is definitely facing a little bit of a crisis since everyone's turning on CNN to watch the Cuomo brothers give their nightly reports on COVID. We definitely need as much support as possible. So if you have the ability to be a patron, go to patreon.com/The Nomiki Show. And Harvey has one more word.
Okay, this is a historical note. This Sunday is the 75th anniversary of the passing of Franklin Roosevelt, who was not simply a liberal, he was the social democratic president. And I happen to have a book coming out, in fact, it just came out this week, entitled FDR on Democracy. And those are the words that inspired young people of that day to move left, okay? Think about picking it up and reading it. FDR on Democracy. And
where would you do that? Because people can't go to bookstores anymore.
Okay. Well, if they go to if they go to my Twitter thing, Harvey @HarveyJK, there's a link to like a lot of different, everything from Barnes and Noble to IndieBound to Powell's. Every hour I try to switch the link.
Good.
So they can.
As long as it's not Amazon.
I've tried my best not to say Amazon these days. Absolutely, okay. And if they go to McNally, if you're in New York and you like McNally Jackson, go online to them. If you like university bookstores, go to them online. I mean, do what you have to. But it's a book that I spent a good deal of time, and it literally inspired me to read all of those speeches and turn them into this argument that we can do it again, almost. Okay. Let's
do it, guys. It's on us. Don't look to anybody. It's us. We got to do the work now. Yeah. Thank you for watching. You can support The Nomiki Show on YouTube by clicking subscribe, like, and sharing. Because as you guys know, now more than ever, we have to support our independent media. We are being attacked from every angle and everyone's watching CNN every night. So it's important that we take care of the good guys fighting the fight. You can also join us on Patreon for special content and interviews. We also have swag like these new mugs, starting as low as $5 a month, which is, basically what an iced coffee is in Manhattan when we had iced coffee shops open. You can go to patreon.com/The Nomiki Show.